Hello, and welcome to this on-demand Westcon webinar. I'm delighted to say that Avaya will be assisting Westcon on this webinar, and presenting today will be Rashid Ajibola and Greg Widdowson. Rashid will present and demo Breeze, and Greg will be presenting on Oceana. My name is Andrew Pierce, and I will provide a pricing example on Oceana using the OneSource configurator. To conclude, I will then run a live demo on the Oceana Agent Workspace. To get this webinar started, I will now pass over to Rashid.
Hi everyone, my name is Rashid Ajibola. I am a sales engineer at Avaya and I'm going to walk you through Avaya Breeze. So first of all, what is Breeze? Breeze is communications middleware. It's middleware that's integrated into the Avaya Aura platform, and it allows it boasts the creations of communications-enabled applications. Under the Avaya Breeze belt, you have what we call snap-ins. And these snap-ins are prepackaged code and APIs and SDKs. And for those of you who aren't familiar with APIs and SDKs, think of an SDK as a library and an API as a book. And within that library, you'll have a book on fishing, a book on cooking, a book on dancing, a book on all kinds of different things that you can call on. You may even combine these books. So I may combine a book on fishing and a book on cooking to cook a fish. It's the ability to draw on these open SDKs, open code, open applications, and to embed these into processes, into customer engagements to enhance the customer journey, or to improve the way we engage with our different teams. Also under the Breeze belt, you have what we call the Avaya Snap Store. And the Snap Store, in a nutshell, is an e-commerce try, buy, and subscribe store where you can try, buy, and subscribe applications. These can also be services, very similar to that of the Apple Store and the Google Play Store. And what Avaya also offers is what we call the Avaya Collaboratory. And this is a developer sandbox. And what this sandbox does is it allows you to create applications using different snap-ins, using different Breeze applications or Breeze APIs. And with the Collaboratory, developers can go into this sandbox. They don't have to download anything. You don't have to install anything. You get an account, you log in, and you can start creating all kinds of different workflows against different use cases and resolving business problems. And fundamentally that's what Breeze is doing. It's resolving a problem. Without a problem, it's very hard to fit Breeze in. And the last thing we have is Engagement Designer. This is also a snap-in or an application. And it's an application that Avaya have created to make creating workflows easy. On the left, you have what we use traditionally, which is Java, which is coding through, lines and lines of code, which takes days, weeks, months. And on the right, you have Engagement Designer, which allows you to get the same outcomes, but with less effort. It's the ability to create these applications rapidly in real time and to deploy them again in real time. So why Avaya Breeze and what is Breeze doing? Avaya Breeze is helping legacy customers enter the digital age. We're now in this era of failing fast. We know that our customers, our partners, were challenged by time, competition, the market, technology, and this rapid change in the environment we live in. We have to fail fast, if you will. If you want to deliver that new innovation, that new service, you have to fail fast. Breeze offers that environment where you can analyze a use case, analyze a process. You can look at where it's gone wrong, where it's gone right, and find a way to automate that process. You can rapidly deploy these applications in real time, and if it doesn't work, break it apart safely. Then deploy it and break it apart, then deploy it and break it apart. And once you get the right combinations of applications or services, you're now delivering innovation, which puts you ahead of your competition. And because Avaya Breeze is middleware, we're calling on APIs, we're calling on open standards. There's no having to rip and replace. If a customer's made previous investments, whether it's in Google, Microsoft, whatever else, as long as we're able to call on those services, there's no having to rip and replace or to start from scratch. So what I'm going to do for you is I'm going to demonstrate just how easy it is to create these workflows and these applications using Engagement Designer. And just before I dive into the demonstration, Engagement Designer is a snapping that, in a sense, allows you to create other snappings or workflows. And it's a graphical-based tool that allows you to drag and drop different tasks, different medias, different capabilities without having to code. It allows you to do this in real time and to do this with ease. Not only that, but with the latest version of Breeze, we've moved from being able to deploy hundreds of workflows to now being able to deploy thousands of workflows in real time. So let me dive into the demonstration for you now. So what you're seeing is System Manager. And this is where we're going to do all the administration and controls around our Avaya Breeze environment. This is where we can control our clusters, our instances, our profiles, what attributes are being deployed where and when. And this is what allows us full control of our Breeze environment. What you're now seeing is Engagement Designer. And Engagement Designer is the graphical workflow tool that we're going to use to create workflows. So bear with me, just going to refresh. So on the left, we have what we call the cabinets. And when we open these cabinets, we get these options over here, which we call tasks. And what I really like about this environment is it really boasts ease of use. It's very easy for someone with little or no experience in Java to jump into this environment. And that's one of the ideas around Engagement Designer. You don't need to know how to code to actually code in this environment. It's just literally drag and drop. And what we see is a graphical box, but then what's hidden from us is all the lines and lines of code. We get the same level of functionality, but we don't have to see the code. So you have different cabinets around real-time speech, around other snappings, context store, around telephony communications. You have tasks that allow you to block a call, allow you to drop a call, allow you to do all kinds of things. You even have tasks around media communications, whether it's playing an announcement, scheduling a Scopia meeting, recognizing speech, or even recording speech. You even have integration. Now, what I think is really powerful around this Breeze environment is not only can we talk and do different tasks within our communications environment, but then we also have tasks that allow us to call on things external. So you have this call REST service task here that allows us to call on external services, external web services, external data or information from other platforms and draw it into Breeze. Draw it into Breeze to drive towards an outcome. And that outcome could be communications. It could be a phone call, an SMS, an announcement. Breeze also has the ability to read and to write to databases. So we can actually punch in SQL queries and update or read information from SQL databases. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a very simple workflow just to show you how easy it is to create these applications and these workflows. And again, anyone can do it. You don't need to know coding, you don't need to know Java. This environment makes it easy. So what I'm going to do is we're going to start this workflow through a make call. So we're going to make a call to a number. Then after we made the call, we're going to play an announcement. So we're going to play an announcement using text-to-speech. And after that announcement has been played, we're going to now send an email and an SMS. And what I'm also going to do is, now for this workflow that I'm creating, I don't have to put a drop call on there. So when this workflow triggers and the number rings, that person being called can end the call at any time. But the reason why I'm putting this drop call here is to show you that this is a workflow, not a call flow. It doesn't need to start with a call, and it doesn't need to end with a call as well. And what's really cool about this environment is once you've got all the tasks together, you literally just connect the dots one by one. And the environment stops you from making loops or mistakes. So if I try to connect these two things together, it won't let me. Even this line that we're dragging across, in Java, this is about 4 or 5 lines of code. An engagement designer is just one click to another click. So let me save this. Quick click is always good to save your work. And we'll save it as Westcon. So now we have all our tasks in place. How do we add functionality behind these tasks? And you do so by just double clicking. So within every task, you have extra functionalities and inputs that we can input into those tasks to get an outcome. Not only that, but we have this help function over here that breaks down that task, what it's doing, what are the inputs, what are the outputs, how can we sense when an error has happened, how can we handle errors, and it even gives you a breakdown of a use case of where this task can be used at the bottom over here. So this environment actually coaches you into using it, which is pretty cool. So now we're going to define the number that we're going to call. And I'm going to call my number 447920. And the caller ID, this can be anything. So the way I'm making this workflow, it can be done in many different ways. So you may see other workflows that have the same outcome but are made in different ways. And this is the nature of this environment. This is the nature of coding and developing. There's always more than one way to skin a cat in the sense of things. What I'm doing is I'm making this make call output over here, and I'm making this make call task the start of our workflow, where all the magic begins. What I'm now going to do, so after that call has been made, we're going to play an announcement. And what we're going to do is we're going to tap into the nuances text-to-speech to convert my text into speech. We could insert a media file if you wanted to. And again, the breakdown of this task and what all the inputs and outputs are all below. Tells you what all the different fields mean and how to populate them. So when it comes to play announcement, we can play announcement to one end of the call or to the other end or to both at the same time. But in this case, we're going to play the announcement to the number that's being called, which would be my phone number. And what we're going to do is we're going to link that make call task we made earlier on to this play announcement. And we're doing that by linking the UCID string. So the UCID is the unique caller ID string. We can have thousands of calls coming in and out of our system, but how do we know which call is which? And we do because every call, every interaction, every instance is stamped by UCID. Let me just save. We're now going to send an SMS. And what's really cool about this task over here is that Breeze on its own can't send an SMS. What we're doing is, so we have a company that's external to Avaya, web text, and they've created a connector that connects into their service. So we're tapping into their external service, but we're doing it in our Breeze environment, which again is a really powerful thing. So we'll send an SMS with some Breeze content. It doesn't really matter what the sender's number is because the sender number will always appear as the account number for our web text account in this environment. And the way I'm doing it now, it's just to send an SMS to one number. But we could do this task in a different way where we could blast out an SMS to multiple numbers. It's possible in this environment. And now we're going to send an email. And again, there's no real use case for this, but this workflow could be a response to maybe a customer has booked an appointment somewhere. They booked an appointment, and it could be that we're going to send an appointment reminder. So we're going to call the customer a couple of days before to remind them, their customer, hit your appointments, in a couple of days' time, and we're going to send them an email. There's all kinds of different use cases that you can integrate into workflows. So the email for this environment, for this account, will be for this lab will be lab11@collaboratory.avaya.com, and I'm going to send it to my via email. And we'll just put it as from Breeze. Put 2 A's. Make it Avaya Breeze. And when we send this email, the email will appear with a really basic format, just text, nothing special, no headers, no footers, no digital content. But what's happening with this environment is that they've added in some extra functionality to this task, where we could send in, some XML or some HTML, where it could be a company sending in their logo at the bottom of the email or sending in extra content. So the ability to do that is you're able to do that in this environment. And again, we're going to end it with a drop call. So we can have many calls coming in and out of our system, but how do we know which call to drop? We do by linking that UCID so that it drops this call with the UCID 111XXX, so on and so on. And we've created this in about 7 minutes. In Java, you could get the same result, but number one, it will take a lot more knowledge and expertise. You need to know how to code, how to debug, how to troubleshoot. Number two, it will take a lot more time. And that's the thing. What makes engagement designer so powerful is the ability to do this, to create these workflows that resolve different use cases, different pain points, or that boast automation quickly in real time. And what this environment also allows is we can validate and verify our workflow. So if there are any mistakes or errors, it will let us know. As you can see, there are no errors, no warnings. But if there was an error, for example, it would appear as such, showing you that there are several errors, pointing you to where the errors originate from. So let's deploy this workflow. Now, with this kind of, the workflow that we created, this will be Breeze going outbound. So Breeze will be going out and doing something. We could also have a workflow laying in wait for an event. And the event could be a time of day, it could be a phone call, it could be an SMS, it could be anything. And once it hits that event, it will trigger a workflow and do something. We're deploying this workflow and deploying it as version 1. If we make any changes or don't make any changes and deploy the workflow again, it will appear as version 2 and version 3 and so on. As you can see, it's uploaded it into System Manager as a Java SFAR file. And when we go into Profiles, we will see the name of our workflow being deployed in our System Manager environment. There you go. So now we're going to go on to what's called the Admin Console of System Manager. This is where we can monitor all our instances, all our workflows, everything happening in real time. We can also monitor workflows that have been archived historically. We're going to trigger our workflow manually, but against a real use case in a customer environment, this can be triggered automatically through, again, an event happening. And it could be a phone call, it could be an SMS, it could be a link being pushed, it could be a time of day, it could be an application, it could be anything. It all depends on the use case and the pain point it's trying to resolve. So I'm going to deploy my workflow in a minute, and you should hear my phone ring. And we'll also monitor this workflow happening in real time. So my phone's ringing, and we can see is that so bear with me. There you go. My phone is ringing, so what you can see is that the workflow is happening in real time. We're going to answer. You're seeing our flow jumping from one task to another task.
This is just the tip of the iceberg. Let's get on with the demo.
So we can monitor our workflow in real time, and you're seeing the workflow jump from task to task to task. Red means in process, green means complete, And I've just received the SMS now. And orange or purple means there's an error in somewhere. So I've received the SMS and the email should come shortly. So again, we created a simple workflow in a matter of a couple of minutes, and we watched it happen in real time. And just to show you what we've done over here, at the start of this workflow, we can see what number we're calling. We can see the time of the event, if it was answered or not answered. Maybe it didn't go through, maybe someone dropped. And we can see this UCID string over here, which allows us to do all the magic. So I hope you've seen the power behind Breeze, and I hope you've seen how easy it is to create these workflows. And again, this is a very simple flow. Against more complicated use cases, you can deliver more powerful experiences by creating more powerful workflows. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rashid. So hello, everybody. My name is Greg Widdowson. I'm a customer engagement strategist here at Avaya. I've been working in the contact center industry for the past 17, 18 years. And what I'm going to talk to you today is about something called Avaya Oceana. Now, Avaya Oceana is our customer engagement solution for the digital age, but it builds on top of that powerful Breeze platform. And I'll explain that as we move forward. But we're just going to set the scene to start with and understand that digital transformation is happening in the marketplace. Every company is being impacted by disruptors into their markets with different business models which were not possible only 7 or 8 years ago, but are now completely revolutionizing the way that people interact with businesses. Consumers now have more power and more technology available to them than they've ever had before. They have a number of different digital devices which gives them access to multiple different channels of communication, and they expect to be able to use those communication channels as it suits them, whenever it fits in and how it fits into their day-to-day lives. They're becoming more demanding and expectant of companies. So companies need to be aware of this. And actually, one of the things that companies need to embrace is to move away from this one-size-fits-all customer experience to providing personalized experience that can be handled across any of these media channels, across any device, and using that to be able to provide a tailored service just to that individual. So there really is a huge change in the way that consumers are interacting with businesses and how they expect businesses to respond. Now, Avaya's response to this, and Avaya's solution to this omni-channel world is Avaya Oceana. And as you can see from this slide, Oceana is built entirely on the Breeze platform. This was developed from the ground up using all of the capabilities of the Breeze platform that Rashid has mentioned. That's taken advantage of some of those snap-ins that Breeze mentioned with additional functionality. So, for example, collecting context information, being able to use workflow automation and using Engagement Designer to be able to design those workflows. Being able to map that information into journey maps so that we can see exactly how the customer is interacting with us as an organization. And even more importantly, providing all these different media channels available from a single platform. Now, the advantage of Breeze and using Breeze is that here at Avaya and in any technology company, we don't know what the next thing is going to be. What's the next big social media channel or the different media channels of communication? The advantage of building this on a platform such as Breeze means that you can extend this solution how you see fit and when you see fit without having to wait for Avaya. You don't have to wait for us to bring out a new version of the product. You can actually add that functionality in on top of this existing solution. So we already provide multiple different channels of communication, but we are not closed. This is built on an open standards, an open platform which is fully extensible by yourselves as customers or by our partners. We also provide a modern workspace, which is full thin client HTML5 based, for the agent to be able to handle any of these interaction channels from one particular environment. So let's go into each of these pieces in a little more detail. So it starts about understanding that the customer is expecting a personalised omni-channel experience, which is driven by them. We're no longer in the age where we can dictate to customers how they will interact with us as an organisation. The customer is now in charge. The customer will decide what's the most appropriate means of communication for them to deal with their particular query at that point in time. Now, it may be that could be SMS, or it perhaps could be a web chat or a messenger client such as Facebook Messenger or even WhatsApp. These types of platforms are very, very popular at the moment. So we're able to allow for them to use that. Maybe they might want to escalate that chat into being a co-browse session with an agent assistance. Or perhaps they might want to, again, escalate that into being a voice call. Now, it's not the fact that we're moving from one channel to another. It's actually that all of these channels work together at the same time. And that's the power that Breeze allows us to harness within Oceana. It is completely seamless, and it is driven by the need of the customer at that point in time. So, for example, if they've got a fairly straightforward, simple query, it could be that they might want to do that using self-service. They may want to do that via SMS or via your mobile app. But if that becomes a little bit more complex, they want to be able to extend that perhaps to a voice call or a video call. They don't want to have to restart the transaction, explain to the agent what they were trying to do, who they are, what their relationship is with the company. And that's where context comes into play. As we move across a customer journey, there are many touch points between a customer and an organisation. All of those touch points may be just to fulfil one request or one product delivery that we're trying to get from that particular organisation. It's important that we're able to record every one of those touch points and be able to map that journey out, because the context that we have from each one of those touch points actually allows us to understand the customer, what they're trying to do, and combining that with information from CRM systems, marketing systems, we can decide what is the most appropriate way of handling this particular interaction, whether it be a voice call, whether it be an SMS, a web chat, or even a video call. All of this context is important because we can decide that how we personalize that service as well. So, for example, if I'm calling into my bank and the bank, I only have a current account or maybe a personal loan with that bank, then I don't want to be given options around mortgages. I don't want to be given options around credit cards. I want options which are only relevant to me. And that's what context allows us to do. And then when we pass through to the agent, if there is an agent involved, we also need to present that information to the agent as well. So the agent can instantly see, this customer's been onto the website, they've perhaps sent an email, they're now ringing up. The chances are this is probably going to be related to the email that they've sent in previously. So all of this allows the customer to get a snapshot of the agent to get a snapshot of exactly who the customer is and what they've been doing along that particular customer journey. And you'll see later in the demonstration from Andrew this journey map in a little more detail. One other thing that we need to use this context for, this information we're collecting, is to ensure that we're delivering the customer to the right resource. So we're moving away from the traditional approach of having skills-based routing to actually using attributes. Now, attributes allows us to be very, very precise about who the customer is and what the query is about, and finding the right resource within the organisation. Now that resource could be an agent. It could be an automated self-service platform, or perhaps it could be somebody working in the back office of the organisation. So if we take an example of an insurance claim, when I ring in again after I've set my claim up, if I'm ringing in to find out the status of that claim, the first thing we can do is understand who the customer is and grab that context. We may, whilst they're waiting, actually give them an update, a status update of exactly where that claim is. But if we do want to speak to somebody, rather than being pushed through to a contact centre agent who may not know exactly what's going on with the current status of that claim, actually wouldn't it be better to be able to route that query direct to the person in the back office who is dealing with that claim? And that's the power of attribute-based routing. It allows us to extend beyond the contact centre into the entire enterprise. Because when we look at a customer journey does not stop with the interaction between the customer and the organisation. When we do pass through a query into an agent or an assisted resource, then actually what we want them to have is all the information and all the tools available at their fingertips. So part of Oceana is Oceana Workspaces. And as I mentioned earlier, this is completely HTML5 based, but this is also completely extensible. So each one of these cards that you can see on the screen at the moment, customer details, customer history, interaction details, etc., these are all configurable. So not only can you decide how many of the cards you want to see, or widgets as we call them, on the screen, you can change the layout and whether it's on the left or the right, the top or the bottom. You can have more widgets, less widgets. You can actually create your own widgets to embed into this desktop. Now, if you don't like the particular desktop, then all of this is built on something called the Breeze Client SDK. And the Breeze Client SDK actually allows you to create your own desktop from scratch. So Oceana as standard comes with Oceana Workspaces, but it also comes with the Breeze Client SDK. So if you don't like what you see, then you can actually create your own desktop or embed it into other desktops, other systems that you may already have in your environment. So in summary then, Oceana allows us to provide that omni-channel digital user experience across multiple devices, very much mobile first, because in the digital area, the mobile device is often the first one most people turn to, but it will work across any device. We also have an integration into our chatbot solution, our automated messaging solution, which allows us to automate some of those interactions, whether that be via SMS, web chat, whether it be over something like Facebook Messenger. We've harnessed the power of Breeze and the Breeze platform. So Engagement Designer that you saw Rashid demonstrate earlier is all a critical element of Avaya Oceana. All of the workflows are designed within Engagement Designer and are all customizable. We have customer journey visualization, which again you'll see as part of the demonstration. We're using that context to route to specific agents with specific matched attributes. And finally, we have a workspace environment that the agent has all of the tools available to them in one space. They don't have to go to multiple applications. It's all available in one HTML5 browser-based application, which can be extended and can be customized by you as customers or from partners or even from Avaya ourselves. So that's a very quick run through of Avaya Oceana. And now I'm going to hand over to Andrew, who's going to give us a demonstration of how to configure this within our configuration tools, and also a demonstration of workspaces.
Many thanks for that, Greg. Just move across to change the laptops. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to show you how to design Avaya Oceana via the OneSource configurator. I've initially created a base CM7 template, which will provide all the Avaya Aura core components, including the CM, System Manager, Session Manager, AES, for example, and this will become apparent when I show you the bill of materials. Okay, so to design Oceana, we need to assign the model via the customer engagement product model and create a new design. Once we're in there, we can select the Oceana solution. And for the purpose of this design example, I'm going to design 150 concurrent voice agents and 50 real-time web communications. So we need to state that we are designing an Oceana system. We can also select whether or not this is going to be a demo or a production environment. We can also select whether or not we want HA or we want to have a campus HA, and this will basically provide another infrastructure cost. So for this design example, I'm going to provide 150 agents concurrent and 15 supervisors. It is important to note that each supervisor will also have the ability to have open standard out-of-the-box reports via Oceanalytics. So for the purpose of this design, I'm going to show you two different ways to provide the same features and functionality. One will be more cost-effective than the other. For the first design example, we're going to design 150 voice licenses via the adjunct route, but without the CC Elite package. This is assuming that there is an existing CC Elite architecture in place. And then for the purpose of the real-time web communications, we are going to design 50 of these. We're also going to include the Workforce Optimization Select product. This will provide a tight integration into the agent workspace where the agent can start and stop recording and also search and replay their recording within inside the agent workspace. And we're also going to provide the application licenses available via the trusted licensing scheme. Since we're adding 50 of the digital premium, which will encompass all of the real-time web communications, including WebRTC, it's important to note that we also need to include the Avaya Media Server, as this is where the call will be anchored and any call prompting and announcements take place. So we do that via the Avaya Breeze model. And this is simply done by stating the various type of AMS deployment method. The small virtual deployment method will cope with a maximum of 100 concurrent WebRTC sessions, so more than suffice for this design example. We also need to state that System Manager is in place, and now we can run this and configure this design. Just waiting for the design to compile. OneSource will provide a method of either choosing perpetual licensing or we can have it on a subscription based. For this design example, we will stay with the perpetual licensing scheme. If we now take a look at the bill of materials, we can start to see how the Oceana solution is created with a list of the various different licensing codes. The 15 will be standing for any supervisors, 150 for the adjunct route via the Elite package, and 50 surrounding the digital premium channels. So we can start to see how this solution and the bill of materials are laid out, and we can start to see with the various different digital real-time communications, from chat to SMS to social media to co-browse. But it's also important to note that Oceana is built upon Avaya Breeze, and we can also see the various design snap-ins that is being leveraged from the Breeze portfolio, including Engagement Designer, Contact Store, Work Assignment. We can also see the chatbot and the various different Breeze server instances. So if we take a look at the costs surrounding this design example, we can also see inside the design the application-specific licensing surrounding the Workforce Optimization Select product, and we can also see the Breeze Avaya Media Server, making sure that the WebRTC is fully supported. So from a costing perspective, please keep an eye on this total extended US dollars cost. But what I will do now is to design a more cost-effective way for this design example, which will cover the same concept with regards to 150 voice agents and 50 real-time web communications. Just to go back into the Oceana design, and I'll just zero out these fields. So a more cost-effective way is to issue 50 all media package. This will include not only the real-time web communications, but the CC Elite adjunct route. And I'll also design it without the Elite licenses. Therefore, the assumption is that a CC Elite solution is in place. And all I would need to now do is to place 100 into the adjunct route without Elite. So this will give me my 150 voice adjunct and 50 digital premium. If I now compile this design, the bill of materials will remain the same, but the price will be more cost effective. And I'll just demonstrate that after we compile the design. You'll still leverage a perpetual licensing scheme rather than subscription. And if I scroll down to the pricing, you should see that pricing is now approximately 25K cheaper by running the all media design package. That concludes the design example. I would like to now move on to a quick demonstration of Avaya Oceana. So this is the agent workspace that Greg talked about, a fully HTML5 compliant workspace running inside the Chrome browser. So I would like to start off web chat. Initially, the chatbot will start the interaction with the inbound customer. And as soon as that chatbot understands that it cannot help any further, it will hand off and position the inbound contact into the agent queue. As you can see, the web chat has now arrived where I can accept. We can see that the CRM is now popped based on the customer's details. We can go and view the customer details further, and we can see any customer history surrounding that inbound customer. We can also go as far as viewing any further transcripts surrounding past historic events. We can go to the customer journey surrounding this customer, and we can also see any historic interactions that have taken place, and we can go in and dig deeper into any of these interaction bubbles. For example, we can see from this customer that they have been onto the web. We can dig deeper into that customer's web interaction and view what web pages they have seen, what specifics around the length and duration and the attributes that the actual customer has been routed to the agent upon. This is incredibly powerful area surrounding the agent workspace. We can then go back and we can also have a chat with the customer, and we can ask them various different questions surrounding the suggested content. And for example, the customer may decide to have a credit card application. We can respond back to that customer, and we can say via the suggested content that we could have a look at the credit card application together. So the agent can now go into a co-browse session with the customer. We could push various information to that customer based around the credit card application, or we could actually push a web page to that customer. And we could basically access the customer's screen and work with that customer by requesting control of their PC. The customer would need to grant access to that, and we can then assist the customer with filling out information. At any time, the customer can revoke the assistance of the agent and start filling out the rest of the information. But it's important to note that any sensitive information, such as credit card information, is completely masked via the agent screen. So perfect for any PCI compliant applications. At this time, we could, the customer could stop the credit card application, and the customer and the agent have concluded their business together. The agent has the ability to set any work codes surrounding that inbound contact, and the supervisor would be able to view that interaction. I would also like to now show you the WebRTC integration. This takes up to around 15 seconds for the inbound contact to arrive in the interaction area of the agent workspace. But once it arrives, we can then treat the WebRTC contact in the same manner as any other real-time web communications. One further enhancement of the WebRTC is the integration of real-time speech. Please read the brochure to learn more about our products. Is there anything else I can do for you? Unfortunately, it didn't quite pick up on the read the brochure about the various different products, but the agent can instantly see that he has not adhered to the script with regards to announcing the correct greeting and also making the inbound call aware that calls could be recorded. The agent still has the ability to search through the customer journey and can also start a co-browse session with the customer, but a session key needs to be created between the inbound caller and the actual agent itself. And that way, they can then start another co-browse session in the same way of a web chat experience. That concludes my demonstration of Oceana. And this concludes today's webinar. Westcon would like to thank you for your time, and if you require assistance with designs and further demonstrations covering the Supervisor Workspace and Oceanalytics, please contact avaya.presales@westcon.co.uk. Thank you.